This is Jarrod Horak, and this is my latest handicapping video. And in this video, I'm going to analyze the Grade 1 Haskell at Monmouth Park, Saturday, July 22nd. Now, my full cards are back in action. The Del Mar Summer Meet begins Friday, July 21st. I have that opening day full card available now. So you can go over to the runawayrhorse.com on my sales page to purchase all of my Del Mar full cards. You can purchase individual full cards, weekly, weekend, monthly packages, or the entire meet. So you can go over to the runawayrhorse.com on my sales page for more information. Now, if you're interested in reading all of my Del Mar and Saratoga handicapping articles, you can go over to todaysracingdigest.com. I have all of those articles there. I've written a bunch this summer. And then if you're interested in bonus-free selections, go over to the horseracing.nation.com. On the front page in the handicapping section, I've had a blog there, my Best Bets blog for many years, and you can find a daily best bet at horseracing.nation.com on the front page in the handicapping section. And then also some bonus free selections over at the runawayhorse.com on my free picks page as well. Now we're going to get into the analysis of the Haskell Stakes. It's going to be for Saturday, July 22nd, the 12th race at Monmouth Park, the Grade 1 $1 million Haskell Stakes. 3-year-olds traveling 1 1/8 miles on the main track, and the scheduled post time, 5:45 p.m. Eastern. Go Rocket Ride, breaking from the inside post for trainer Richard Mandella. He's dangerous when he has these shippers. He runs a lot of horses in Southern California. He's a patient trainer, and if he thinks he has a good horse, he'll ship them out of town. That's exactly what he's doing here. This horse is lightly raced, and that's kind of the theme of this race. You're going to see multiple contenders that are lightly raced, that are trying to step up into the graded stakes ranks. Then you have a couple horses that are proven in the Grade 1 ranks. Go Rocket Ride's going to try to prove himself here in the graded ranks. In his first career start, 6 furlongs at Santa Anita earlier this year in January, he went right out to the front and he wired the field. That was a powerful effort in his career debut, and they jumped him right into the Grade 2 San Felipe, a Kentucky Derby points race on March 4th. That Santa Anita Park race at 1 1/16 miles, he was actually the favorite in that race, but he didn't win it, but he ran a quality race. He chased from second, and he ended up finishing second there. Practical Move had an experience edge on him, and he was just able to win that race as much the best. And Go Rocket Ride, solid effort. I don't think he should have been the favorite there, but he ran a quality race. He got sick after that. They weren't able to get into the Kentucky Derby, so then they decided to regroup and have a summer-fall campaign. Last time out, the Affirmed Stakes, a listed race. It was only a 5-horse field. He was the 1-2 favorite. Now, Skinner was supposed to race in that event, but John Sheriff wasn't happy with his training, and he scratched. So it looked like prior to the running of the Affirmed, it looked like it was going to be really a match race between Go Rocket Ride and Skinner. But then when Skinner came out, Go Rocket Ride was your 1-2 favorite, and he didn't disappoint. He sat back in third. He took over. He won easily. Now, Richard Mandella shows a lot of confidence, shipping him cross country to run in this Grade 1 Haskell. He still has a lot of upside. We'll have to see how good he is. He's going to have to run a bit faster, but I think he could definitely set a good trip. Saving ground, stalking the pace under Mike Smith. Number 2, Awesome Strong. He's 30-1 morning line. Does look like an outsider in here. This one's a Florida bred. He had a lot of talent as a 2-year-old. He won all 4 of his starts at Gulfstream Park, and he went right through that Florida Sire series, and he won all 3 of those races in that series after breaking his maiden at 4.5 furlongs, stalking the pace and running away. Then he got into the Florida Sire series at 6 furlongs. He won that first race there in that series by almost 5 lengths, going wire to wire. In the next race in the series, the Florida Sire Affirmed, that was at 7 furlongs. He stalked, he took over, he won by 3. The In Reality at 1.16 miles was the final race in that series. He stalked, he led, he won nicely. And then he disappeared from October of 2022 till June of 2023, an optional claiming race at Delaware Park at 6 furlongs. And he was the favorite there, and he chased the pace early, and then he got tired. He was 5th, beaten 5 lengths in that 6-horse field. So now, after that one sprint prep in which he disappointed, he's going to stretch back out in distance. He is 1-for-1 around 2 turns, but he's facing some tough company, and he's going to have to really step it up in his second 3-year-old start. A lot of times when these horses change from age 2 to 3, you like to see them run faster in their first start as a 3-year-old, but he did not do that, and now he's going to step up and face some good horses. He does have a bullet workout at Monmouth Park on July 15th. Salute the Stars for trainer Brad Cox. This one's another one that's going to try to step up like Go Rocket Ride and elevate his game. They began him on turf. John Ortiz was his trainer when he was a 2-year-old, and that was at Ellis Park. And in back-to-back turf routes, he was second after being 14 lengths back early in his career debut, and he was only beaten a length and a quarter. That was a good effort last July. And then in August at Ellis Park, he stalked the pace second time out at 1 mile and a 16th on turf, and he was able to pull away and win nicely by 3 lengths. He moved to the Brad Cox barn this year, and they originally wanted to run him on turf. It was a 1 mile and an 1/8 race at Churchill Downs on May 14th, but it was taken off the turf. He had the lead, he lost the lead, he regained the lead, he had a length lead, and then he held on by a neck, adding Lasix for the first time. And then he lost Lasix last time, the local prep race for the Haskell, the Pegasus Stakes, 1 mile and a 16th at Monmouth. And in that race, he won that race. Kingsbarns was the heavy favorite there, and he tracked the pace. He got first run, and Kingsbarns looked like a winner, but Salute the Stars was able to run him down late. Now, the one thing that Salute the Stars did there, he wasn't a professional in the early going. He was steadied early. He was ranked. They couldn't get him to settle. And he finally settled, and then he was able to run down Kingsbarns in the late going to win that race. So now as he tries to step up into Grade 1 company, he's going to have to be much more professional in this spot. They're going to need him to not be ranked, and he's going to have to run a really good race here under Joao Rosario, who got to know him last time out. So if he can show more professionalism, his speed figures definitely improved. He's a faster horse from age 2 to 3, and now his 3rd start of the year, I can see him sitting a good tactical trip, and he should offer value at 8 to 1. He just needs to run a more professional race. Number 4, Mage. He is a 3 to 1 morning line. He's your Kentucky Derby winner, and just like Go Rocket Ride, he was an unraced 2-year-old, and he's run all of his races this year. January 28th at Gulfstream, he went wire to wire in his career debut at 7 furlongs, but that was not a fast pace. He was able to get out there, slow pace, he controlled it, and he won easily. Second time out, the Fountain of Youth Stakes. In that race, Forte obviously had a lot more experience than him. He was your 2-year-old champion, and Mage was stalking wide, and he came up empty, and he was beaten 6 lengths. So Forte dominated that one. Mage ended up finishing 4th. A good experience run for his first stakes race. Then his second stakes race, the Grade 1 Florida Derby. That was on April 1st. And he was off slow there, and then he made a big, wide, sweeping move, and he took the lead. But Forte made the last run there, and he ran him down, and he won by a length. And then Mage was a clear second, good solid effort, and a nice forward move in his second stakes race. Then came the Grade 1 Kentucky Derby at 1 mile and a quarter on May 6th. And in that race, there was a pace meltdown. The pace was super fast. Mage was the best closer that day, and he rallied from 16th place and 13 lengths back to win by a length over 2 fills. Now, if you look at the overall composition of that race, how the race shape was, 2 fills clearly ran the best overall race. But because of that pace scenario, Mage ran the best closing race, and he was able to get the job done at 15 to 1. The Grade 1 Preakness was next 2 weeks after the Kentucky Derby, and he was the favorite there, but there was no pace whatsoever. So in the Derby, he got tons of pace help. In the Preakness, he got absolutely no pace help. National Treasure got out there, and he controlled the pace. Blazing Sevens was stalking wide. Mage was in a good tactical position, but he just could not go with National Treasure and Blazing Sevens in the late going, and he finished 3rd, beaten a bit more than 2 lengths, and he was clear of the rest. So it was a solid enough effort, considering it really didn't set up for him at all. And now Mage is going to really point to the Travers here. Their main goal is the Travers, and they were just deciding, will they run him in the Jim Dandy or the Haskell, or just train him up to the Travers? And they thought that he was doing well enough now. They wanted to get a race in him prior to the Travers Stakes. And this is the spot that they're going for, and they're hoping to get a decent amount of pace help in here. The pace scenario, we're not quite sure how it's going to play out. I'll talk about that a bit later in this video. Number 5, Tapit Trice. He is a 3 to 1 morning line, and I've been a fan of this horse for quite some time, and he's run well in 6 of 7 career starts. The only time he didn't really run well was in the Kentucky Derby, and the race did set up for closers, but he just did not fire that day. For whatever reason, horses sired by Tapit just do not do well in the Kentucky Derby. And I picked him that day. I thought that he could do well as a closer there. coming off that victory in the Grade 1 Bluegrass, but it wasn't meant to be. Now, when he jumped up into stakes company in the Tampa Bay Derby earlier this year, he was not making up any ground, it didn't look like, after a slow start. And then all of a sudden in the stretch, he came alive and he won by 2 lengths. That was a weak field. He was 1-2. He was supposed to win that one, and he looked good visually. And then in the Bluegrass Stakes, from post 1, he had a better start than he did in the Tampa Bay Derby. And that day, he was able to make an early move and get involved and battle with Verifying, who had the tactical edge on him. But Tapit Trice came after Verifying early, and he just had more stamina than that one, and he was able to win by a neck. And then Blazing Sevens, your subsequent Preakness runner-up, ended up finishing 3rd that day. And then the Kentucky Derby came. He was 7th, beaten 9 lengths. He was kind of just grinding away slowly, not doing enough, passing some tired horses, and he was 7th of 18. The Belmont Stakes, I picked him on top. I thought there were a lot of positives. Horses exiting the Derby, skipping the Preakness, running in the Belmont. Did well in the Belmont. He was Tapit was his sire, and Tapit a strong Belmont Stakes sire. Todd Pletcher has much better stats in the Belmont Stakes than he does in the Kentucky Derby. There was a lot to like about Tapit Trice in that Belmont Stakes, and he ran a quality race. He was out there in the clear. That's what they want him to do, but he was probably a bit too wide, and Arcangelo scraped the paint and saved all the ground. He won by a length and a half, and Forte, your 2-year-old champion, coming off a 10-week layoff, he missed the Derby because he had a foot bruise. He ended up just finishing in front of Tapit Trice for that runner-up spot by a nose. But Tapit Trice was beaten a total of a length and a half. The wide trip probably made the difference. He ran an okay race, but a little bit disappointing considering that should have been the day he really jumped up. But if he runs back to his Bluegrass, he can certainly compete here. He's a Grade 1 winner at this 1 1/8 distance. He'll probably offer a little bit of value under Luis Saez. Howgreatisnate? He's probably not quite good enough to win this race. He's got some talent, though. He's 5 for 8 lifetime. He's run twice at Monmouth, and that was his last 2 starts, and he ran well both times. He was a good 2-year-old. He was 4 for 4 as a 2-year-old at Delaware Park and Parks, and he won all of those races, including a little stakes race at Parks late last year. And then this year in the Gotham and the private terms, he tossed the rider in the Gotham. He was 4th in the private terms, and then he switched barns. He moved to the Elizabeth Doble's barn, and in his last 2 starts, the Long Branch Stakes at Monmouth, he won that race, and then in his last start, the Pegasus Stakes, he was 3rd behind Salute the Stars and King's Barns. He was stalking the pace. He just didn't have enough of a kick to keep up with them. So now he's not fast enough right now. He's better than he was earlier this year. In his last 2 starts, his speed figures are okay, but he's not as fast as the top contenders. He'll need to step it up. Extra Anejo is another one of those horses that's going to try to rise up into the stakes ranks here. And he was highly regarded last year. Last fall at Keeneland, he romped in his career debut by more than 9 lengths. That was such an easy victory. He wired the field that day. His second career start did not come until May of this year. So he had gotten injured. They had a long layoff on this one, and he came back at Churchill Downs 6.5 furlongs on May 6th, Kentucky Derby undercard. And that day he ended up stalking the pace and finishing a solid 2nd. The winner there got the jump on him. He ended up running an okay race in a race he really needed from the inside post. June 10th was his next start. They stretched him out 1 mile at Ellis Park. He was the heavy favorite, and he romped there. He stalked, he took over, he won for fun. So now this is his first stake start and his longest race to date and his 3rd start of the year. So we'll have to see how he can step up, just like some of the others. We have even some listed stakes winners like Go Rocket Rider. They're going to try to step up. Salute the Stars as well for Brad Cox. And then you have Extra Anejo, who's going to try to step up his game in his first stakes race. And then Arabian Night rounds out the field for trainer Bob Baffert. And Bob Baffert's had a ton of success in this race. He always seems to bring horses to the Haskell that have a very good chance of winning. And if you look at his barn, a horse like National Treasure, you would thought could have been a horse that could have ended up running in the Haskell, your Preakness winner. But Baffert decides to go with Arabian Night. This was one of his most highly regarded horses in his barn. They paid $2.3 million for this one. He's 2 for 2 lifetime. The Breeders' Cup undercard last year was his career debut at 7 furlongs, and he dominated. He got right to the front. He won by more than 7 lengths. The distant clear runner-up was the next out winner, Arabian Night resurfaced in the Grade 3 Southwest Stakes in the slop at a mile and a 16th at Oakland Park in January. And in that race, he got right to the front. He dominated again. So in both of his starts, he was the heavy favorite. He was never headed. He won both starts very easily. Now, Bob Baffert runners were not eligible to compete in the Kentucky Derby, so they decided to stop on this one and point to a summer and fall campaign. And this is the first stop. He doesn't have any prep races. This is his first start since January. He's been training very well. He's had a lot of longer workouts. June 17th, 6 furlong, 112 bullet. 7 furlongs and 124 and 124, and then 125 and change on July 1st, 7 furlongs and 124 and change on July 8th, and then 6 furlong bullet and 111 and change at Santa Anita last time out. So he's been training plenty of furlongs under his belt here. He's probably going to be the one to catch. Now the pace scenario is interesting in this race. Arabian Night, he does look like the main speed in here. He looks like he's going to go out there and he's going to try to wire the field under John Velasquez. Now, Extra Anejo is one that should show speed. He did wire the field in his career debut, but he was comfortable stalking in his last two starts. Howgreatisnate, he's been a horse that's been liking to stalk the pace in his last few starts. Tapit Trice likes to come from off the pace. Mage, off the pace. Salute the Stars, more than comfortable stalking the pace. I think that they want to have the same trip they had in the Pegasus, except they don't want him to be ranked this time. They want him to settle stalking the pace. You have Awesome Strong. He's one that could show some speed, but in his lone route race, he was comfortable stalking the pace, and he stalked sprinting as well before. Go Rocket Ride. He wired the field in his career debut, but since then, in his 2 route races, he stalked the pace. So as you can see, there are a lot of horses with tactical speed that like to get a good position, and there is one horse that's a front runner in here, and that's the one I'm going to make my top choice, Arabian Night. He's one that I always liked. Earlier this year, after he won the Southwest, he was my top-ranked Kentucky Derby contender. And then when they pulled him off the Derby Trail, I removed him from my list, and then I started my 3-year-old after the Triple Crown Series list at today's RacingDigest.com. I wrote an article beginning in June, and my first list after the Derby, Arabian Night, resurfaced as my top 3-year-old. So I've always liked this one. I think Bob Baffert, with all the success he's had in this race, this horse has a ton of upside, and I just think he brings the right kind of horses to Monmouth Park, and I think he can just get out there from the outside post, control the pace, and he could be very good. We'll have to see if he can win this race after this kind of layoff. That would be a huge effort, but I do think that he can do just that. So Arabian Night's going to be my top choice. I'm not even sure he's going to be the favorite. You have your Kentucky Derby winner in here. You have horses like Tapit Trice, a Grade 1 winner. Salute the Stars, probably take a bit of action. Go Rocket Ride, take a little action for Mandela, but Extra Anejo for sure for Steve Asmussen could take money. So I don't think there's going to be anybody who's going to be anywhere near even money. I think you're going to have multiple horses taking some action in here. And Arabian Night, 5-2, 3-1, something like that. I think he can wire the field in here. I will make Tapit Trice my second choice. I like him. This race possibly could work out for a horse coming a bit off the pace, but he has to stop those slow starts. You don't want to do that at Monmouth. That can really hurt you. A track like Monmouth that typically favors early pressing types. And then Mage, using this race as a prep for the Travers. I can see him running a quality race here and then maybe moving forward next time. But this one's all about Arabian Night as my top choice in the Grade 1 Haskell. So don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment if you like this horse racing content. And I will be back, and I'll be doing some more horse racing videos all summer long. Keep checking my YouTube channel. A lot of stakes races that I'm going to be doing from Del Mar and Saratoga, and then some other stakes along the way as well. Until I see you next time, good luck at the races.